As the partial government shutdown extends into a third day, it appears that it will last at least until tomorrow. House Rules Committee later this evening will consider putting the Senate-approved government funding package to a full floor vote Tuesday. House Speaker Mike Johnson, with the backing of President Trump significantly, says he has the votes. But his conference faces a tough fight to end the shutdown, as House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and the Democrats have raised quite a few objections. Caitlin Huey-Burns joins me now from Capitol Hill to summarize for us. Caitlin, take it away.
Hey, Major. Well, Johnson's majority is actually getting slimmer tonight. In fact, there was a special election over the weekend in Texas to refill a Democratic seat. A Democrat won that, and he will be sworn into Congress later this evening. So the margins become even slimmer. But Johnson told reporters just a few moments ago that he is confident that he has the votes to pass this. And notably, Major, President Trump put out a Truth Social post on social media saying that lawmakers must pass this now. He is in no mood for a government shutdown, and I can tell you, reporting over the past several days up here, there's really nobody who is wanting a shutdown given the consequences that we saw in the last go-round, last year, the longest in American history. And there are a lot of things to fight about, but by and large, Democrats and Republicans want to keep the government funded. At issue, though, Major, is this funding over DHS, the Department of Homeland Security. And so even if this is going to go through the Rules Committee, which basically sets it up for a vote tomorrow, even if this passes the House tomorrow, the president signs it into law, they still have to figure out how to fund long-term the Department of Homeland Security. And Democrats have some key asks and a bright red line.
In that regard, key asks from Democrats about tactical and methodological reforms dealing with interior enforcement of immigration law. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem said just this afternoon, effective immediately, that's a direct quote, "We are deploying body cameras to every officer in the field in Minnesota, and if funding is available, quote unquote, that will be taken nationwide." That appears to be responsive to this very important legislative conversation.
That's right, because Democrats had kind of three buckets of demands, Major. One of them was to require agents, ICE agents, to wear body cameras, as Noem just announced. They also want them to take their masks off. They also want a uniform code of ethics. And then another key issue here is the ending of roving patrols, and they want to tighten the rules around the use of warrants. So those are kind of the three main buckets here. And Democrats have been adamant that they will not support further funding for the Department of Homeland Security unless these demands are met. So we'll gauge reaction to what Noem announced. But take a listen to what House leader, Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries said earlier today.
We clearly have the high ground and standing on the side of the American people with respect to ICE. ICE and the Department of Homeland Security need to dramatically change. And absent that, then a full-year appropriations bill is in deep trouble.
So, Major, Jeffries is getting at a point that I think needs to be underscored, the bigger political point here, which is that it is striking that Republicans agreed in the first place to reopen funding for the Department of Homeland Security. And that shows or suggests, I think, that the outcry over what happened in Minnesota really had an impact here on Capitol Hill. Republicans publicly announcing that, or acknowledging, I should say, that immigration was a winning issue for them in 2024, and they are worried that they are losing it given what the public is responding to. So there have been calls for tightening the rules around ICE, and we'll see how that goes. But this does speak to a bigger political moment. And as you mentioned, Kristi Noem essentially giving in there to one of the Democrats' demands on body cameras.
Republicans on their back foot politically. Let's see if that translates into any other legislative changes. Caitlin Huey-Burns on Capitol Hill. Thank you so very much.